Hi, this is Dear Myrtle, and thanks to the folks at Family History Expos for taping this interview. Joining me today is a friend, Audrey Collins you're from Scotland, but you live in London, right?
Yes.
And she works at the National Archives, and I always put in parentheses UK, so that we can distinguish that from the National Archives and those of us who have US-centric research. We get that confused sometimes. So we're here at Rootstech, day 2. What's your impression?
Wow. It's really good. I think I was one of the first people to register.
I think
when I saw it advertised, I thought, this looks really interesting and a good excuse to go back to Salt Lake City, which I visited for the first time last year. And I thought, yeah, it's going to be fun. I had no idea it was so big.
It's just, well, and I wasn't prepared for the music and lights.
I love the music and the lights.
So it adds to the drama of it. And this morning we heard from Kurt Witcher from, he's a well-known genealogist and librarian at the Allen County Public Library. So what was your take on his presentation?
It was tremendous. I mean, they brought him on like a rock star, and that's how it should be. He was inspirational. He's been doing his job for 30 years. He doesn't look old enough to be doing any job for 30 years.
Well, he did have those baby pictures in his PowerPoint.
Yes, the baby picture was lovely. But he's inspirational because he really knows his stuff. He knows how people use resources, which I think is the great thing. And I think that's what Rootstech is about. You have the providers and the users together, and each of them needs to know how the other works. And I think he brought that together wonderfully. And people were tweeting, people were following it worldwide.
So Kurt mentioned how different the researcher is from 20, 30 years ago when he started. And I'd like to talk with that in mind when we talk about the National Archives in the UK. What kind of, do you have a different persona for the average person coming into research? Are we all gray-haired grandmas that come to see you?
No, by no means. And I have noticed the change over the years. I've worked at the National Archives for a little over 8 years, but for more than 20 years I've been a regular reader and a user.
Yes.
And it has changed so much. And the readers have changed.
So your typical, what we call patron and what you call reader, has changed. The profile.
Yes.
Are they younger? What's the difference?
Yes, they are getting younger. I'm going back to my own first experience of the National Archives, which is, well, it was called the Public Record Office then. The National Archives.
PRO.
Yes, the PRO, plus one or two other organisations. But in the days when I started, it was in the old Victorian building in Chancery Lane, which is quite something. And I went there to get my first reader's ticket. I was ushered into a little office by an elderly gentleman in a suit. Now, if you come to the National Archives, first of all, you may not need a reader's ticket, because that is for the people who need to look at original documents. And we have so many things that are now online or on film. The film is going, it's online as far as possible. That many of our readers, they come in and they can get everything that they need without ever having to order an original document.
Which preserves those original documents.
It does. Yes, there's two reasons for scanning and or filming, which is what we used to do. It makes the documents much more widely available, but it protects them. Now, if you do need to have a reader's ticket, you go up to the top floor into a dedicated office where you do your application online. You have to go through a little induction about how to handle documents and do a little online quiz to see you've got it right. Then you get your reader's ticket.
Tutorial kind of. Yeah.
Exactly. And you get your reader's ticket, which has a photograph of you. We have little digital cameras. So I always warn people, if they're going to get a ticket, remember to smile, comb your hair first, because you're stuck with this picture for 3 years.
And then the type of records that they're looking for, you're seeing most of your initial work at the National Archives of the UK would be done online. Well, what about remote online? Is there a big difference in your collection that's available only from within computers within your building, or can I access from the US, for instance?
There is almost no difference between what you can access from here in Salt Lake City or what you can access in our building in Kew. There are very, very few things that are digital or online. that we have got in the building that we can't get off-site, but they're nearly all other people's things, where we have some CDs that we've acquired and we've networked. As far as our own records are concerned, the user experience, as you call it, is exactly the same, whether it's your computer or one of ours. The main difference is that you may well have to pay if you're off-site. If you're on-site,
I don't mind paying. It's cheaper than airfare, but I do want to come visit.
Well, we hope you do.
One more thing before we go. You joined the wonderful world of genealogy blogging this year.
Yes.
So tell us the name of your blog and what you're doing. I follow it closely.
Yes, I know you do, and it's all your fault.
Oh,
because
no.
I attended a webinar at something like 2 or 3 a.m. GMT, but it was worth it, and I thought, yes, I will do this. And I went up and I set up my blog on Blogger, and it's called The Family Recorder.
My impression of your site, your blog, I've seen you do reviews of new websites and how their catalog works in relationship to scanned document collections. I've seen little anecdotal things. You found a graphic and it caused you to remember something, but it gives me the flavor of doing research. You also do podcasts. Can you mention that?
Oh, I do, yes. We do a number of public talks at the National Archives. We have a dedicated talks room, and we have an audience of maybe between 20 or 70 people.
In that room?
In the room. But I realised about a couple of years ago that our big audience is outside. It's the people who listen to the podcasts.
Yes.
When I was sitting in a hotel
with
bar,
earbuds and
well, when I was sitting in a hotel bar in Little Rock, and I mentioned the name of a talk that I did, and somebody said, "Hey, I heard a podcast on that," and I said, "That'll be me."
Yes.
And that's when I realised we have a long reach.
You do.
And we have lots of podcasts on the National Archives site.
Excellent. So, folks, don't worry. I'll put the links to her blog, your podcast, the National Archives, some of the things that we've talked about during this podcast. This isn't a podcast, it's a video cast. And again, this is Dear Myrtle with Audrey Collins from the National Archives UK. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.